Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Valiant Apology Hour. I'm your host, Sideshow, joined here by fellow attacker, reinforce, and just stalwart defendant and apologist, Custa, who is no longer on the team. And I think it's wonderful previously when we had been debating with you on my stream where I was talking about Valiant being, in my opinion, the 20th best team, and you were defending them. Knowing full well that you weren't
I wasn't going to be in that.
Well.
And I haven't been a part of any of the decisions over coming through this last season. I haven't been talking to the coaches. So I haven't been a part. Throughout all this, remember, I haven't been a part of any of these decisions. In the past, I have been, I've been big talk with coaches and management, just sort of trying to shape the team. I have nothing to do with this. So everything I say is completely independent and as an analyst.
Yeah. So given that you were in denial, may I ask, what stage of grief are you currently in?
I'm in, I can't remember what they are. I'm in acceptance, honestly. I think it's time to move in.
All right, let's take a look at their roster, though, because this is an incomplete roster now that you've gone.
Yes.
Right?
They don't have a main support.
But also, I mean, they have less than 8 players, and you needed 8 players by a certain amount of time. So they signed you and retired you, and now they are literally under the league limit. So we know that they're going to sign somebody. We know that
How
they're
hilarious would it be if they needed 8 players signed and they just signed Bren for a month, just to round out the roster?
Mike, no.
Do it for the memes. It'd be fun.
For the memes.
All right, so we've got to assume that they're going to sign some main support. I mean, do you know who the main support is going to be, and you just can't say, or is there some kind of setup there?
Go with no comment on this.
Okay, fair enough. So, bear in mind as well, this comes out 4 weeks in the future.
It comes out in 4 weeks in the future. Well, everything will be announced. But I can tell you that Overwatch League has leaked one of our pickups already. If you guys haven't seen that.
I've been on vacation.
But has it already been on Reddit?
It was on Reddit.
All right, so you can tell me who Reddit thought it was.
Okay, Overwatch League posted something on Reddit that said, Los Angeles Valiant Rain says, this is why I chose my name.
Yeah.
So he was previously with Mayhem, am I right?
Yes, as far as I can remember. He was the main support for Mayhem. But I don't even know whether he got playtime, did he? It was Rain and Chris.
No, I don't think. I think they picked up Rain to play instead of Chris. Okay. But then they ended up playing with just Chris.
So nice to see they're continuing with their star-studded talent that's been very successful elsewhere.
Which is a shame, because this is the team that should have had Paintbrush, in my opinion.
I think this team would have done well with Paintbrush, but I don't think Paintbrush would have wanted to play it.
Well, that's the other thing.
Which is sad, because I think he's going to sit on the bench, but I think he could have shown something, at least on Valiant.
I think it's better to sit on the bench, honestly.
No, it's not.
Then have your morale broken, potentially?
No, because there have been so many players whose careers have been ruined, Trill, by sitting on a bench and being forced to play in bad situations.
Right. Look, at least he got out of Australia.
That's true.
Okay, so let's take a look through this roster as well. This is the hardest roster to properly pin down because it's still in flux. There are still additions being made to this.
Yeah.
It's also going to be the roster, the video that makes the least sense probably, because we're 4 weeks in the past compared to you, the viewer. And like you said, there are probably going to be...
I do know what the players are, but I don't... Should I leak it on this video?
No, I don't.
Why not then? Because
I think
you've done it before. What's the point?
It is going to be 4 weeks in the future.
So everything will be announced. So I guess
we are in 2020.
Yeah. What if we don't make sure that they've been announced?
Well, then we'll cut it and we'll just leave out the Los Angeles Valiant and we'll ignore the video.
Okay, so there is a bunch of different changes that happen here, which is actually really interesting. So KSP is getting signed to the roster.
Right.
He is a Widow player that is apparently insane.
His Widow is very, very good. He played for Team UK.
He's played for Team UK. Apparently, he's been dumpstering on everyone. Support.
Okay.
Valiant, and that rounds out the entire team.
Okay, so you've got...
That's the entire team.
As far as I'm aware. As far as...
Right. That's an incredibly small roster as well.
There is one other player. They will be adding Gig as a main tank.
Who the hell is Gig?
I don't really know.
Do you know where he's from?
Not really. No. Can you type Gig Overwatch anywhere? Let me look it up.
Yeah, look it up on your phone.
I don't really know much about him. So but it's still a lot of sort of low-profile players.
Yeah. So let's talk about the DPS players first, then, because I think that's the department we have the best idea.
Yeah. Sure.
I actually quite like Shax. I think KSF has some potential, and Apply. I don't know what to make of Apply. I actually think Shax is the best DPS.
Yeah, and then
he splits hero pool with KSP. So I'm pretty confused.
A US player who played for XL2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that 19th spot is waiting right there.
Okay. So, sorry, you continue.
Yeah, we're talking about the DPS.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, I don't think we have to keep this video particularly long. I just don't. I don't. There's not a lot to talk about. I think that Shax is probably the best DPS player on this team. I don't know if you agree. No,
You think KSF?
I think
KSF is best. I think KSF has a range of heroes that he can play, and he also plays like the Widow kind of weirdly as well. And then, having gained his confidence over the last year, he actually looks like he's fairly decent now.
Yeah. Well, he gained most of his reputation playing Zarya. I mean, I feel like there's no point in me arguing because Custa's here. So it's like...
I kind of want to know what like your opinions are of the team, and then I'll come through with my like sweeping one of like...
All right, so basically the only team that you can compare them to, in my opinion, is the Boston Uprising. Because there is no other team in the league that has so much unproven talent from regions that are strange as well. So there's only 2 teams in the league that are playing this game, trying to get potential talent. Even like the other teams we've got down there, like Houston and like London. I mean, even London has a lot more talent that is known. People like Bernard and Fuse played on Philadelphia Fusion University, and then you have Glister on there as well, and you've got other players that have genuinely done well in their contenders regions. This roster is full of people that it feels like the coaching staff is relying a lot on their performance in trials.
At the same time, I trust packing 10. I think Valiant has a better coaching staff than Boston Uprising.
But do you trust packing 10 even with very limited resources? I mean, there's only so much that a good coaching staff can do.
He has good resources.
I mean good resources in terms of the ability to sign good talent. You know what I mean? Like, he was forced to look at a certain level and below, because the Valiant presumably wasn't willing to bid for a big roster. I mean, if they think this is the best that they could do with all resources in the world, that's crazy.
Everyone's announced that's
exactly.
Not true,
So, they're redirecting their finances and they're going for this different approach to the league.
Well, I'm going to say that I don't particularly rate McGravy. I think he's Overwatch League level, but I think that's about it. And I don't think that he deserves to be he's not a shining star on this team.
You compare it to somebody like
decent off tank.
Like Brusson is playing for the Boston Uprising.
Well, I think McGravy is better than Brusson. Well,
that's the thing. I find it very hard.
We pretty much only seen Sigma, so we can't really comment. McGravy, I trust he's lower Overwatch League tier on most off tanks.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just there's nothing about this roster that makes me go, I understand how they're going to play as a team.
Sure.
I see clear styles, or I have a lot of faith in individual players.
Yeah.
I could see kind of like that in KSF and maybe Lastro as well, because he's been all right. But the rest of the team, and I suppose KSP has a bit of pop-up potential as well now that he's been added to the roster. The rest of the team, I mean, Tankline in particular, Dreamer or Gig with McGravy, I mean, God knows.
Yeah.
And who do Boston have as their tank line?
Fusions.
Fusions.
And I mean, it's been 5 hours.
Yeah.
What's his face? Recent, he's on a 2-way.
Brusson.
No, Brusson, but they have
and Muffin.
Muffin.
Yeah. So I feel more confident about Fusions and Brusson Muffin than I do about this tank line here. And that's comparing the bottom people in the league.
Okay,
you think so?
So let me step in why. I think the DPS line is by far the strongest part of the Valiant team. I think KSF is going to have a lot of opportunity to really shine. I think he is probably the star of the team right now. In terms of a lot should be built around him. I like Shax, but he's a very quiet player, and he's not the player who's going to take the game by storm and crush it all. Apply, I think, is a big question mark to me. Someone who I have never really looked at.
Yeah,
and, had a lot of oh wow.
I'm surprised that he returned to the Overwatch League.
So am I. And but as Johnny said, I'm a massive stan for the Valiant coaching staff and management. Obviously,
I do think they're good.
I think they're very good, and I trust that if they're picking up these players, there is good reason for it. I think Apply might see a lot, probably the least amount of playtime in this year for the DPS. But I think KSP pretty much coming in, as far as I'm aware, as a Widow player. Apparently, he's just absolutely nutty. So I think it'd be really cool we got to see him. Support line, I think Rain is sort of unproven, but they said in the trials that he was solid. Yeah. I think the way it was sort of defined was that it's really hard to find. How hard is it to find a good main support these days that wants to play for the Valiant and wants to sign a contract for the Valiant?
Yeah.
So I think Reina was actually a solid choice, and then Lastro is apparently really, really.
I've heard a lot of good things about Lastro.
Apparently, Kriv like massively stood up for Lastro and really sort of hyped him up, and apparently the coaching staff have been blown away by him.
My problem with that is the flex support role is the most stacked role in the Overwatch League. And so even if you have a player that's very good, Lastro is probably not going to stand out because...
It's still better than having, a bottom tier flex support.
Oh, absolutely.
We could have easily... The team could have easily picked up, an NA Contenders flex support that's just never going to cut it with the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm with you guys on the fact that the tank line is probably the biggest question marks. McGravy, very unproven, as you said. Like, I think he's a good guy and he's a good personality to have on the team.
He's a great personality.
And he's a really good person to have on the team. But as you said, his mechanics and the way he's going to function on the team, we'll see. Dreamer and Gig, nobody knows really anything about.
Oh. God, who knows? And also, just how is this team going to work together? And I really think there is strong potential for them just to get their morale smashed.
I think the opposite, because I think there is zero expectation for this team coming in. So I think all they have to do is win a couple of games, and they're already exceeding expectations. People are putting them 20th. And that's because they know that they're in a roster that has, probably the least potential. They have a lot of potential. They have the least average talent right now. So if I was on that team, I'd be like, okay, guys, let's just go out there, prove what we have. If we lose, we're expected to lose, and that kind of stuff.
Another one of my issues, though, that's what you would do. Who the hell does that for them?
I think Packing 10 does that.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I think Packing is the perfect kind of head coach to sort of, he's a very honest guy, and he's going to say it how it is. He's going to say to those guys, where I'm likely, he will go in there and he'll be like, we have a tough time ahead of us, and it's going to hard. We're going to lose a lot of games, but all we need to do is show people what we got and get a future.
If I was KSF or Shax playing on this team, and even McGravy, knowing that the team, the LA Valiant, was a competent team at the end of last year, like a good team, had opportunities to get into the playoffs, revived what was a horrific beginning to the league, I would look at 2020 as if I am being carted around from homestand to homestand to lose. But that's how I would feel. I would feel like I'm just getting hi, well, I'm in a new city to get dumpstered again.
No,
cool.
I think if I was any of those players, what the idea that I'd be going for is I'd be getting carted around to be like, hey, here's what I can do. Sign me next year, because do you think Valiant's going to keep all their talent thing? If a player pops off, they will get traded to a better team.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
And so I think it's their opportunity to sort of show it, sort of shine above the rest. Obviously, it can be hard if you do. I
think it's going to be so mentally taxing. Yeah. You have a team. I don't want to say the Shanghai Dragons from the first year or something, but you have a team like Toronto or something like that. They do well at the beginning of the season, things start to go badly, and then they just slump for the rest. But then you also add in all of the travel that is going to be weary. Even if you're the person that loves traveling the most, if you're traveling around all the time as a player, that's going to get taxing. That is going to be rough.
Yeah.
You add those two together, and I think that's a very tough
And halfway
position.
through the season, you're going to be like, well, we've already lost. And that is when it really starts hitting you, and that's when it becomes really annoying to perform every day.
Yeah. And all those things exist, and obviously all the players, they understand what they're dealing with. I'm just hoping that, obviously there's a lot of untapped talent here that could potentially be good. There's probably not all going to pop off. Yeah. I'm sure a couple of things might fall, a couple of things might rise. We'll see. So I'm just hoping that, as I said, I think this team, I wasn't lying when I think this team can get top 14. I think this team can easily do it better than Mayhem, Paris, London, Houston, Boston, because if they are successful and their players end up doing good, and all these other teams have the opportunity to shit the bed like they do, I don't think Valiant will come 20th. I think if I was to build an average of where I think they would end up, it'd be 16th or 17th.
I think that an average they would be lower than that, but there are very clear universes in which they do actually fairly well because other teams just crap it out.
Yeah, but there's also a world which they finished 20th. This team could easily shit the bed, and then everything just...
What was the bet that we made?
If Valiant finishes 20th, I'm getting the Overwatch League logo shaved into my head.
Yep.
And if Valiant finished top 10, you have to get a Valiant logo shaved into your head.
Yep. Okay.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. So,
19th it is then.
Yeah, I think 19th.
Yeah, 19th's fine.
Yeah, I think so.
I just didn't have anything to say about this team because it's just an anomaly.
Are they over under? I mean, they've got to be under, right?
Yeah, it's under. So last season,
We actually had a pretty good season last year.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was an incredible rejuvenation of the team.
Last season 13th, 12 and 16.
12 and 16 is so good considering you started 0 and 8.
Yeah, I think actually I looked this up because I was a research guy last year that counting out your first lose streak, you were like a top 4 or top 5 team in win percentage since you started winning.
We had a good season other than like our tragic start.
Yes, which was more of like an internal thing anyway, rather than it being
that's the kind of thing that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, good times. Too bad they're gone.
See you next season.
Yeah, well, that's where we have put the LA Valiant. Just taking a look, we have 2 teams left, and they are either number 1 or number 3. And the two teams
that is going to change.
The 2 teams that we have available are Shock and Vancouver, and
we're moving some shit around.
I don't think Vancouver's top 3, so
I don't think either. We fucked up.
Tune into the next episodes to figure out where we end up placing them.